You fall asleep without much trouble. Maybe you are out by 10 or 11, and then sometime between 2 and 4 in the morning, your eyes open, wide awake, no alarm, no noise, no obvious reason, just awake, staring at the ceiling, mind beginning to race, and no matter what you try, the extra pillow, the bathroom trip, the glass of water, you cannot get back into real sleep. If this is happening to you 3, 4, 5 nights a week, I need you to understand something clearly. This is not just a sleep problem. This is not insomnia in the traditional sense. And it is almost certainly not just aging. Your body is running a biological process between 2 and 4 in the morning that most doctors never explain to their patients. And after 60, when that process starts to struggle, it wakes you up like a fire alarm going off inside your own physiology. The question is not how to silence the alarm. The question is, what is the alarm trying to tell you? I am Dr. Steven, and this channel exists to bring you the latest evidence-based research on senior health, explained clearly, without the jargon, and without anything left out. If you have not subscribed yet, please do that now, because what I am covering today is one of the most common complaints I hear from adults over 60, and one of the most consistently misunderstood. Let us get into exactly what is happening between 2 and 4 in the morning, and why your liver is at the center of it. The liver does not sleep. When you do, most people think of the liver as a digestive organ, something that processes food, filters toxins, and generally operates quietly in the background. What most people do not realize is that the liver runs on a precise biological clock, and between approximately 1 and 3 in the morning, it enters its most active and demanding phase of the entire 24-hour cycle. This is not folk medicine or alternative theory. This is established chronobiology, the science of how biological processes follow time-based rhythms. Your liver's circadian rhythm is well documented in peer-reviewed literature, and research published in the journal Cell Metabolism has confirmed that the liver performs the majority of its detoxification, glycogen regulation, and cellular repair work during this specific nighttime window. During this peak activity window, your liver is doing several critical things simultaneously. It is processing and neutralizing metabolic waste products that accumulated throughout the day. It is regulating blood glucose levels, releasing stored glycogen to maintain your overnight energy supply. It is metabolizing hormones, including estrogen, cortisol, and adrenaline, and it is filtering everything your bloodstream has collected since your last meal. That is an enormous workload, and here is where it becomes directly relevant to you waking up at 3 in the morning. When the liver is functioning optimally, it completes this work quietly and efficiently while you remain asleep. But when liver function is compromised through chronic low-grade inflammation, fatty liver changes, nutritional deficiencies, or the cumulative metabolic stress that builds across decades, it cannot complete that workload without recruiting help from your stress response system, and the stress response system wakes you up. The cortisol connection, why your body sounds the alarm. Here is the specific biological mechanism that research has now confirmed, and it connects your liver directly to that 2 to 4 a.m. awakening. When your liver is struggling to complete its nighttime processing, whether because it is inflamed, nutrient depleted, or simply working harder than it should to clear a backlog of metabolic waste, it triggers a cascade that signals your adrenal glands to release cortisol. Cortisol is your primary stress hormone. In the morning, a natural cortisol rise is healthy and necessary. It is what gives you the energy to get up and start your day. But when cortisol spikes prematurely at 2 or 3 in the morning because your liver is calling for emergency support, it pulls you out of deep sleep and into a state of alert wakefulness. A study published in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism confirmed that nighttime cortisol dysregulation, specifically early morning cortisol spikes occurring between 2 and 4 a.m., was significantly associated with impaired hepatic function and elevated liver enzyme markers in adults over 60. The liver and the adrenal glands are in constant two-way communication, and when one is struggling, the other compensates in ways that directly disrupt sleep architecture. This is why you wake up feeling alert rather than groggy. Cortisol is a stimulating hormone. It is designed to make you ready to act. When it floods your system at 3 a.m., your heart rate rises slightly, your mind activates, and falling back into deep sleep becomes nearly impossible. Not because anything is wrong with your sleep itself, but because your stress system has been switched on by a liver that needed backup. Comment below right now and tell me. When you wake up between 2 and 4 a.m., does your mind immediately start racing with thoughts, worries, or mental chatter? Just say yes or no, because if it does, that is cortisol. That is almost never a psychological problem first. It is almost always a physiological one. Why this gets worse after 60. The 3 compounding factors. Understanding why this specifically intensifies after 60 requires looking at 3 things that change simultaneously in the aging body and how they stack on top of each other. The first is declining liver reserve. Research published in the journal Hepatology has confirmed that liver volume and blood flow to the liver decrease by approximately 35 to 40% between the ages of 40 and 70. The liver of a 68-year-old is doing the same amount of work with significantly less capacity. The same detoxification load that was handled quietly and efficiently at 45 now requires more effort, more time, and more systemic support to complete overnight. The second factor is the accumulation of non-alcoholic fatty liver changes. A 2022 study from the National Institute of Diabetes and Digestive and Kidney Diseases found that non-alcoholic fatty liver disease affects an estimated 40% of adults over the age of 60 in the United States. Many of these individuals have no diagnosis, no symptoms during the day, and no awareness that their liver is under significant chronic stress. But at 3 in the morning, when that stressed liver is trying to complete its peak workload, the signal it sends to your adrenal glands is loud and clear. The third factor is magnesium depletion, and this one surprises most people. Your liver requires magnesium as a cofactor for over 300 enzymatic reactions, including a significant number of the detoxification pathways it runs overnight. Research published in the journal Nutrients found that magnesium deficiency directly impairs hepatic detoxification efficiency and increases the cortisol output associated with nighttime liver stress. And as we have covered on this channel before, nearly 68% of American adults over 65 are chronically low in magnesium, often without any obvious symptoms during the day. Let me tell you about Patricia. She was 71 years old, a retired nurse who prided herself on understanding her own health. She had been waking up at exactly 2:30 in the morning for almost 2 years. She had tried melatonin, she had tried chamomile tea, she had elevated the head of her bed, she had cut off screens by 8 p.m. Nothing worked. Her primary care doctor had offered a sleep medication, which she declined. She knew enough from her nursing career to be cautious about sleep drugs at her age. When she came in for a thorough evaluation, her liver enzymes were mildly elevated. Not enough to trigger alarm, but enough to confirm the liver was under stress. Her magnesium level came back in the low normal range, which in functional terms often means deficient. Her cortisol rhythm, measured through a simple saliva test taken at multiple points across the day and night, showed a clear premature spike between 2 and 3 in the morning, exactly the pattern the research predicts. Within 6 weeks of addressing the root causes, Patricia was sleeping through to 5:30 a.m. consistently. She described it as the first real sleep she had experienced in years. I will tell you exactly what she did and what you can do in a few minutes. What the research says about recovery. Here is the part of this conversation that most people never reach, because most doctors stop at the symptom and offer a pill rather than explaining the mechanism and addressing the cause. The liver is one of the most regenerative organs in the human body. Unlike the brain or the heart, the liver retains a remarkable capacity to repair and restore function even in adults over 60, provided the right conditions are created. A 2023 study published in the Journal of Hepatology followed adults aged 60 to 78 with documented non-alcoholic fatty liver changes and elevated nighttime cortisol patterns. Participants who followed a targeted protocol, specific dietary changes, strategic supplementation, and timed physical activity showed measurable improvement in liver enzyme markers within 8 weeks and reported significant improvement in sleep continuity, specifically a reduction in early morning awakening within the same window. The cortisol rhythm, once normalized by reducing the liver's overnight stress load, naturally shifted back toward its healthy morning peak pattern. The 2 to 4 a.m. awakenings resolved not because sleep was artificially induced, but because the underlying biological trigger was removed. This is what genuine root cause resolution looks like, and it is available to you. Exactly what to do. The 5-step protocol. Here is precisely what the evidence supports. I am going to be specific because vague advice helps no one. Step 1 is to support your liver before bed, not in the morning. The timing here is critical and almost universally overlooked. Your liver begins its peak activity window around 1 a.m., which means the nutritional support it needs should be in place before that window opens. The 2 most evidence-backed liver support nutrients for this specific purpose are milk thistle, standardized to 70 to 80% silymarin content at 150 to 200 milligrams taken with your evening meal, and choline, found naturally in eggs but also available as CDP choline supplementation at 250 milligrams in the evening. Research from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition has confirmed that choline deficiency is directly associated with impaired hepatic fat metabolism and elevated liver stress markers in older adults. Step 2 is magnesium glycinate, 300 to 350 milligrams taken 45 minutes before bed. As discussed, magnesium is a critical cofactor for liver detoxification enzymes. Restoring adequate magnesium levels reduces the enzymatic strain on the liver during its overnight peak, and by extension reduces the cortisol signal that is waking you up. The glycinate form is essential here. Magnesium oxide, the cheapest and most common form, has a bioavailability of only about 4% and will not produce the same result. Step 3 is eliminating the 2 things that increase your liver's overnight workload most significantly. The first is alcohol within 4 hours of bedtime. Even 1 glass of wine at 8 p.m. adds a significant metabolic processing burden to the liver's 2 a.m. workload. The second is processed or high-fat food eaten after 7 p.m. Your liver processes dietary fats and food-derived toxins alongside its endogenous detoxification work, and a heavy late meal competes directly with that process. Shifting your last substantial meal to before 6:30 p.m. gives your liver a meaningful head start. Step 4 is a 10 to 15-minute walk after your evening meal. This is not about calorie burning. Walking after dinner has been shown in research published in Sports Medicine to significantly improve liver fat metabolism and reduce hepatic triglyceride accumulation. A liver carrying less fat processes its overnight workload more efficiently. Less overnight stress on the liver means a quieter adrenal response. A quieter adrenal response at 3 a.m. means you stay asleep. Step 5 is a cortisol support strategy for the nights when you do wake up. If you find yourself awake between 2 and 4 a.m., the worst thing you can do is reach for your phone, turn on a light, or begin engaging with mentally stimulating content. Light exposure at that hour suppresses melatonin and resets your circadian clock in the wrong direction. Instead, keep a small amount of complex carbohydrate, 4 to 5 whole grain crackers, a tablespoon of almond butter, on your nightstand. A small amount of slow-releasing carbohydrate taken at 3 a.m. gently raises blood glucose and signals the liver that its glycogen reserves are sufficient, which reduces the adrenal alarm signal and allows cortisol to drop back down. Many people find they are back asleep within 20 minutes using this approach. It is not a long-term solution. It is a bridge while the root cause is being addressed. One critical warning before we close. If your 2 to 4 a.m. waking is accompanied by any of the following: night sweats, heart palpitations, shortness of breath, chest discomfort, significant weight loss without trying, or pain in the upper right side of your abdomen, please do not self-treat. These symptoms alongside early morning waking warrant prompt medical evaluation. The liver connection we discussed today applies to the vast majority of seniors experiencing this pattern, but it does not apply to every situation, and some causes require clinical attention. Additionally, if you are currently on any medications for blood pressure, diabetes, cholesterol, or heart rhythm, speak with your doctor before adding milk thistle or choline supplementation. Milk thistle in particular can affect how certain medications are metabolized by the liver, and your physician needs to know what you are taking. The bottom line: waking up between 2 and 4 in the morning is not random. It is not simply what getting older feels like. It is a specific biological signal from a liver working at its peak capacity and calling for support it is not getting. After 60, with reduced liver reserve, possible fatty liver changes, and chronic magnesium depletion, that signal becomes louder. The cortisol spike it triggers pulls you out of the deep sleep your brain desperately needs for memory consolidation, cellular repair, and the overnight clearing of proteins associated with cognitive decline. But the liver recovers, the cortisol rhythm resets, the sleep returns, not with a pill that forces you unconscious, but by addressing the actual reason your body is sounding the alarm in the first place. Give it 8 weeks. Track your waking times. Notice the shift. Comment below with one of 3 things. Comment liver if you suspect this is what has been waking you up. Comment your typical wake-up time, just the hour, so we can see what this community is experiencing. Or comment sharing if someone you love has been losing sleep over this for years without anyone explaining why. I read every single comment, and they directly shape what I cover next. If this gave you something real today, please subscribe, because next week we are covering the one breakfast food that research now shows consistently raises fasting blood sugar in adults over 60. And it is sitting in most of your refrigerators right now, marketed as healthy. I am Dr. Steven. Take good care of yourself. Your body is not failing you. It is communicating with you. Today you learned how to listen.